Hello besties, welcome to my new apartment. I know I've been gone for a little while. As I mentioned in previous video, I am moving and I was on vacation. I have officially moved into my new apartment. Apologies now if the audio quality is kind of shit. The apartment is not fully furnished and so there is an echo, but listen, furnishing an apartment is expensive and I can't drop that kind of money all at once. So we're gonna take some time, but I'm gonna introduce you to today's video where I went to a romance bookstore once again. This time I went to Steamy because I was on vacation in Florida and I happened to be in Deer Park, Florida, which is where Steamy is. If you don't know Steamy is an independent bookstore. They focus a lot on diverse reads and diversity and queer romances. They also are the host of the Steamy Book Con, which happens in California every year. And they also do their own special edition books. So this is a very fun trip for me because I was very excited to see all of the special edition books in person. So I'm gonna take you with me to this cute little bookstore by a little seaside town in Florida and let's hang out together. But I'm gonna throw you back to the start of the day where I'm having breakfast on the beach and we'll go to the bookstore together. So as you can see, Steamy Lit was so freaking cute. I absolutely loved the shop and all the decor in it. They had this little like living room sitting area where you could sit down and read your books. I did not utilize that because I was soaking wet in my swimsuit, but I also loved all like the mirrors with the tropes on them and all of the merch. I did restrain myself though because obviously my expenses in June are much higher because I picked up my entire life and moved across the country. So let me show you what I got. I'm going to start off with the only piece of merch that I purchased, which is this hat that says bookish. I absolutely love this hat. I'm usually not a baseball cap girly, but I have rosacea and I get burned very easily across my cheeks, even if I'm wearing sunscreen. And because I've moved to the Sunshine State, I figured it's going to be helpful for me to have a cap to at least somewhat cover my face. I wore that when I went to Disney. It was very useful. I absolutely love it. We'll move on to books now. So I purchased 3 books and got 1 for free. So I purchased this, which is The Marquess Makes His Move by Diana Quincy. Diana Quincy is a Palestinian author who writes historical romances. I mentioned in a previous video, I am very much still in my historical romance era, but I want to diversify the kind of historical romances that I read because it being a historical doesn't have to mean that it's white and set in England. So this story specifically follows a woman who is a map maker, and she's a very famous map maker who is relatively wealthy and lives in her estate. However, obviously she is a woman and it cannot be known that she is the one that makes these maps. So she has disguise. And as a map maker, she has slighted this man here, his family, and he is out for revenge. He goes to the estate. He disguises himself as one of her servants, except that he is looking for the man who makes the maps and has no idea that it's her, and it's obviously their romance. And this is an autographed edition. Unfortunately, it was was also slightly damaged, and because of that I did get a 10% discount off of this book, but I'm very excited to read this and continue on with my historical romance era. The second book that I got is also autographed, and I'm very excited about it because if you missed this vlog, I read Love in the Time of Serial Killers by this author, and I really enjoyed it. And I think this cover here is so beautiful. It is a sports romance because apparently 2024 is my year of romance. This is a story about a woman who is going through a divorce, and you know, she's having a hard time. She's at a baseball game that she's like just gone to, and she's very, very drunk and starts heckling one of the players, except that he's also going through a really hard time and he ends up crying, and she feels awful, so she messages him later on to apologize, and it's just like, I'm so sorry, and they end up striking up a friendship, except that she never mentions that she's his heckler, and this is the story of their relationship. I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel about this, but this is an autographed copy. It is just such a beautiful cover, and I really enjoyed the author's last story, so I'm hoping that I'm also going to enjoy this one. This is the last book that I purchased, and I was so excited to see it. It is Sea of Ruin by Pam Godwin, which first of all is one chunker of a book. Like, it is really heavy, but also I feel like this edition isn't specifically sold anymore. I could totally be wrong about that. This is indie published, and this is a story about a woman who I believe is a pirate. It's a dark romance. That's all I know. I know it gets very, very dark, and that there are heavy content warnings here for sexual assault throughout the story, but I also know that pretty much everyone who I've seen read this has absolutely loved it. Somewhere down the road I want to do a dark romance reading vlog, and I have very high hopes for this, but it was also extremely reasonably priced, and I was very excited to see this copy of it at the Steamy Lit bookstore. Now, I mentioned I got a fourth book, and that's because I had spent over $50, and when you spend over $50 for a limited time at Steamy Lit in person, they give you a free ARC. So she offered me one of 3 choices. All were fantastic choices, but I felt on the spot, so I picked this one, which is I'll Have What He's Having, which is a queer romance about a sommelier, like a substitute teacher who has an interest in cooking. It's their love story. There's like a mix-up where they confuse who the other person is after they hook up, and then it is the story of them in the months that follows. I've never heard of this author. I haven't read anything by them, but it was a free ARC that I am very excited to read. So besties, that wraps up this video. That was my trip to the Steamy Lit bookstore in Florida. Thank you for bearing with me with 1, this audio, and 2, just a little bit of a break that I took. I did completely change my life, and I will catch you up on that in a future reading vlog. If you haven't already subscribed, please make sure you do. Thank you so much to everyone who subscribed so far. I have a goal of hitting 1,000 subscribers, and that is impossible without you. If you have gotten to the end of this video, you can leave me the little house emoji to let me know that you've gotten to the end of this video, and also in honor of the fact that I have just completely moved, and I am going to see you in my next video. Bye!